Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest event of Friends of Elephants. Am I audible?
Yes, Sadhana, we can hear you.
Okay. So, welcome everybody to the latest event of Friends of Elephants, which is the fourth edition of Elephants in Assam. Today, we have lined up a few interactive sessions on the theme Elephants in Forests and Estates. Before we begin the event, let us first know what Friends of Elephants is. Friends of Elephants is not an organization and is not proposing to become one. It is an informal group of people coming together with varied expertise concerned about elephants and other wildlife. The group is a forum for disseminating knowledge linked to elephants and other wildlife science, conservation, and welfare through art, culture, literature, movies, talks, panel discussions, and conversations. We have been conducting these events as offline events since April 2014 and from 2020 as online events. Our expectations is that people who have attended our events formally or informally participate or help in developing appropriate conservation and welfare measures for wildlife, including elephants. So today we are going to have a talk by Mr. Amlan Aditya Goswami on elephants surviving in human-dominated landscapes of Assam, which is to be followed by a conversation between Ritu Paban Borah and Amlan Aditya Goswami on scopes and challenges of managing elephants in a human-dominated landscape. At the end, we are going to have a question-answer session to be moderated by Mrs. Seema Lokhandwala. So before we begin the talk, let me introduce myself. I'm Sadhana Devi from Guwahati, Assam. At present, I'm working as a science and mathematics teacher in a government institution. With a master's degree in zoology and 7 years of teaching experience, I have been working to make a positive impact engaging and accessible to all students. I'm thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to introduce this event, and I'm also delighted and excited to do the introduction. So now we are going to have a talk by Mr. Amlan Aditya Goswami on elephants of Assam. But before we begin, let me introduce Mr. Amlan Aditya Goswami. He is a researcher based in Kaziranga, Assam, studying the patterns and drivers of movement and habitat use of elephants in the Kaziranga Karbi Anglong Elephant Reserve. He has a postgraduate degree in environment biology and wildlife science from Cotton University, Assam. Amlan is pursuing his Ph.D. from Cotton University and has been associated with the Asian Nature Conservation Foundation since 2018 as a GIS consultant and field researcher. Mr. Goswami, the stage is all yours now.
Hi, Sadhana. Thanks for that lovely introduction. And I thank the organizers for giving me a platform to share my experiences and findings of my work in Assam, my work on elephants in Assam. So let me just share my screen real quickly. So is the screen visible?
Yes, Amlan, it's visible.
Yes, I'll just change the slide and just let me know if the slide changes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's
So,
changing.
like I said, okay, great. So, like I said, so I'll be talking mostly about my work that I've been doing in Kaziranga Karbi Anglong Elephant Reserve. And today I'll be talking about my work in a place called Golaghat. So, before we jump to Golaghat, let us first see what is the status of elephants in India, and then gradually we'll move to our area of interest. So if we see, elephant population in India is approximately 30,000, and the elephant population is distributed in four regions in India, which includes the southern region, the east central region, the northeastern region, and the northern region. So today we'll be focusing on the northeast region, which, if we look at the map on the right hand side, is this portion. So we have all the northeastern states, and the green areas are all elephant distribution areas. And among all the elephant distribution areas, our area of interest is this place, and surrounded by this circle. This is the elephant distribution in the Kaziranga Karbi Anglong Elephant Reserve, which includes uh, elephant distribution area in Kaziranga, Karbi Anglong, parts of Nagaon in the west, and Golaghat in the east. And our area of relevance, based on the recent elephant population estimation carried out by the Assam Forest Department in 2024. Now, when I say Kaziranga Karbi Anglong Elephant Reserve, the first thing that comes to anyone's mind is Kaziranga National Park. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will have Kaziranga National Park in their travel bucket list. So Kaziranga is famous for its one-horned rhino, elephants, a large density of high density of tigers, gibbons, buffaloes, which represent a very small portion of a very unique assemblage of animals that are actually here. But today we are not talking about Kaziranga. We'll be talking about an area adjacent to Kaziranga called Golaghat. Now, why I took this approach of bringing everyone to Golaghat? It is because, whenever we talk about Kaziranga, Kaziranga is such a bright gem. It's such a bright gem that it outshines every other area that is around it. And somewhere for the larger public outside of Assam, they don't know about the issues that are happening right adjacent to such a well-known landscape, such a well-known national park. And so that is what motivated us to move to Golaghat to see actually what are the issues that are happening there, because Golaghat is a hotbed of conflict, which we'll see in the later slides. So if we talk about Golaghat FD, the Golaghat area, so it covers roughly 3,000 square kilometers of area. And if we talk about forests in Golaghat, the forest survey reports say there are the area has 30% of forests, like 3,000 square kilometers, 30% of that is forests. But if we look at the protected area network of the region, it is only 2 to 3% of the total division area. And if we look at the forests are mainly moist to dry deciduous. And as we go up the elevation, it gradually changes to tropical evergreen forests. So this is just, so I'm virtually trying to take you all to Golaghat. So this is what a Golaghat forest looks like and feels like. So the first video was from Lower Doigurung Reserve Forest, and this video that is running right now is from Nambor Wildlife Sanctuary. Then we come to a land cover type, which is a forest fragment. Now this forest fragment, the area surrounded in this red polygon, this is only 2 square kilometer of an area. And you can see surrounding this forest fragment, there are a lot of houses, roads, and near that, there are a lot of other forest fragments as well. Now, why I'm showing you a forest fragment is because in this landscape in Golaghat, forest fragments act as a hiding site or a refuge site for elephants, where you will see elephants stay here for the entire day, and during the evenings, they'll be heading out to the nearby human dominated areas, human settlements, and agricultural areas for crop raiding. Now, forest fragments are scattered throughout the landscape. If we talk about tea estates, Golaghat division or Golaghat district is one of the largest producers of tea in Assam. There are more than 60 tea gardens in Assam producing a little more than 20,000 tons of tea per year. So 20% of the entire district of Golaghat comes under tea production. Now, I was talking about in the previous tea garden, in the previous slide, I was talking about an operational tea garden. In Golaghat, what we also see is an abandoned tea garden. Now, this is an abandoned tea garden which ceased operations in the year 2017. And as a result, the tea plants have overgrown and are now, these areas also have become sites for refuge by elephants. And again, it's the same story. During the daytime, they would stay here, and when the time is right, they would move out for raiding crops. They'll go to human settlements for raiding houses, etc. Now, I wonder if anyone of you has seen what a abandoned tea garden looks like. So it looks like this. You can see all the tea plants have overgrown, and it's higher than this person actually. So you can imagine if you are walking through such a area, if an elephant is close to you, you won't be able to find out until it's too late. This is another picture of the same area, but a different corner. And you can see the dense secondary growth. So visibility is highly compromised in such a place, and it becomes, is a very good place for an elephant for hiding. Now, if we talk about agricultural areas, 20% of the area under Golaghat district is under agriculture, and it's mostly paddy. And then there are human settlements, and there are 5 major rivers that are running through Golaghat. Now, if we talk about human-elephant conflict, like I said earlier, Golaghat district is a hotbed of human-elephant conflict. Now, if you look at some of the statistics, you can see from 2021 there were 14 deaths, and it has gradually come down. And if you talk about elephant deaths, these are the statistics related to elephant deaths in Golaghat. But I would like to add one thing, that these numbers may not represent the conflict that is happening in Golaghat, because conflict is not just the number of human deaths or elephant deaths. It is the possibility of that outcome that constitutes conflict as well. And in places like Golaghat, where elephants are moving around the human dominated landscapes, the point of contact or the frequency of contact increases very highly, which makes which creates the possibility of human deaths, elephant deaths, and injury in both parts. Now, why does conflict occur in such a landscape? Now, if you see, if you look at this bird's eye view of a small area in Golaghat, you can see how the different land use land cover classes are configured. So you can see there's an abandoned tea estate right here, and around it there are tea estates. The white dots are all houses. There's a river. There are abandoned agricultural areas which were abandoned because of elephants. There's human settlements. There's tea gardens. Then there are forest fragments, and in the far right of the screen, you can see agricultural areas. So this is what the setup of the landscape is like. And this pattern is followed throughout Golaghat, more or less. Now, when an elephant is moving, imagine an elephant who is here in the abandoned tea estate. He's staying there for the whole day. In the evening, he has to move to the agricultural areas for crop raiding. So when the elephant has to make such a movement, it has to move through these areas, the abandoned agricultural areas, the human settlements, the forest fragments, and then it has to come to agricultural areas. So such a movement creates a high chance of encounter between people and elephants, and often such interactions can take a negative turn. So this is one of the reasons why conflict is so high in the landscape. So what we tried to do, we tried to deploy GPS GSM collars to elephants so that we can track the elephant's movement, so that we can have a tactical advantage of knowing the elephant's movement every day. And in a long term, we can actually find out what are the areas areas the elephants are covering. And then, we can identify movements that are natural movements, which is basically movement connecting one habitat to another, and movements which are actually causing conflict, and then propose certain measures to curtail movement, conflict causing movement, and promote movement that is connecting two habitats. So again, in summary, we deployed GPS collar as an early warning system, and for understanding their long-term movement for future conservation plans. So we deployed collars on 3 elephants. So first was Rongali, and we deployed the collar on her on 15th May 2022, followed by Kalioni in October 2023, and Durga, also known as Dhansiri, on 17th October 2023. So these are our 3 elephants whom we collared, and in the following slides we'll look at an overview of the movement patterns that they have shown us. So this is a cumulative movement pattern of Rongali from June 2022 to January 2024. So in 20 months, Rongali and her herd moved 4,805 kilometers within an area of 390 square kilometers. So this 390 square kilometers can be considered their home range. And if you look at the map on the right hand side, all these white points are the recorded locations that the GPS collar has recorded. And you can see I have labeled the clusters. Wherever we have seen a cluster of these locations, we have labeled these areas, and these are areas that have been frequently visited. Now you can see most of these areas are tea gardens. There's Letikujan Tea Garden out here, Bogidhola Abandoned Tea Estate, Bokial Tea Estate, Udayan Tea Estate, and there are also points in Nambor Wildlife Sanctuary and Nambor extending up to Garampani Wildlife Sanctuary, which is in the southernmost distribution of of the recorded locations. So you can see this is what the distribution of the elephant looks like. And if we look at the proportion of locations that are falling in different land use land cover classes, we can see that out of all the recorded locations, 30% is in forests. And when I say forests, I mean the protected areas. Okay, and this is followed by tea gardens, abandoned tea gardens, agricultural areas, and forest fragments. Now, when we say forest fragments, these forest fragments are again those small patches of forests which are there in between human settlements or houses. Now, if you consider both tea plantations and abandoned tea plantations as one unit, the use of tea plantations surpasses the use of forests in the 20 months movement of Rongali. Thus, it shows that Rongali has been using, she has been staying out of the forests more, and she has been living in the human dominated land areas more. But then again, there's a seasonal variation in use of different land use land cover classes. But in totality, this is what it looks like. Now coming to Kalyoni's movement. So Kalyoni, in this map, I'm showing only 1 year of movement from October 2023 to September 2024. And during this time period, she has moved a distance of 1,379 kilometers within an area of 363 square kilometers. Again, we have identified the cluster and labeled these areas, and it is the same as what we have seen for Rongali as well. And if we look at the use of different land use land cover classes, we can see this time tea plantations are quite high. So 43% of the recorded locations were seen in tea plantations, followed by forests, and then the other land use land cover classes. Again, if we look at Durga's movement, again, for 1 year, October 2023 to September 2024, Durga has moved 1,065 kilometers within an area of 272 square kilometers. And again, if we look at the proportion of locations in different land use land cover classes, so 34% of all the recorded locations, 34% is in the forests, followed by tea gardens. But again, if you consider tea plantations as a whole, including both operational and abandoned tea gardens, the dependence on tea gardens is quite high. So what are the effects of such a habitat use pattern on elephants and humans? Now for elephants, now going around such risky environments, which are in the human dominated landscapes, often leads to incidents where the elephant gets injured, or at worst cases, deaths can occur. There's an increased chance of contact with people, which often leads to different types of negative interactions, which includes the accidental encounters, retaliatory killings, house raids, crop raiding, etc. Then elephants thriving on low quality resources due to change in food preference, leading to health issues. Now the elephants that are going around at such a landscape are not getting quality resources, because all the resources that they are getting are from human dominated landscapes, which are limited. If an elephant was staying in a forest, it would have gotten a variety, different species of plants to feed upon, which would have given them variety of nutrients. But because they are living in human dominated landscapes, which has limited resources, the nutrient requirement does not get fulfilled. As a result, it may pose some health issues for the elephants. Now for humans, there is an increased chance of encounters with elephants, leading to negative interactions. And after these negative interactions, there are also things that happen after that, which is a compromised overall physical and mental health, a diminished sense of security, because people living in such landscapes are always living in fear of the uncertainty of when an elephant might come and break their house or come and raid their crops. It again jeopardizes an individual's or a household's potential to prosper, because every resource that they get, every capital, they try to put it towards protecting their own property, their own life from elephants. So it compromises their potential to have a prosperous life. Now, what does some of the conflicts look like? Now, there are human deaths and injury. Now, these photos depict one of the incidents that happened in the area where an elephant pushed this wall, and the debris from here fell on this unfortunate couple. Now, this is, it's unfortunate for the couple at that time, but it could have been worse, because there have been many incidents where the elephant had an accidental encounter and people have died because of these fatal encounters as well. There's damage to properties as well. Now this image was taken in the winters of 2022, and this herd of elephant has entered this house, which you can see in the right hand side after the elephants have left. And the elephants went into this house because this person had kept sacks of rice, and there were bags of urea in the house. So the elephant entered to consume those. Again, this is a school in one of the tea gardens for the children of the tea tribes. Now, this school, the elephant broke through the wall and entered and ransacked the entire classroom because there was a box or a container which had rice, and the elephant came for the rice. Now, in this image on the left, you can see a granary that was damaged by the elephant. And then just below the granary, you can see grains scattered. Then on the left hand side, there's an image. On the right hand side, you can see an entire house was demolished by elephants who might have come looking for food or some other resource. Then we have elephant deaths and injuries as well. Now here in the image on the right hand side, this was an elephant that died because of electrocution. And this was an accidental electrocution that happened in the area. Now, in a previous slide, I mentioned about the risk of elephants going around in a risky landscape, in a risky area, and this is one of the risks. Now, sometimes which bend, then they come into contact with unknowing elephants, which causes their deaths. Many times what happens, the elephants, they itch their belly or their flanks in those posts, which again causes the posts, the electric posts to bend. So these are some of the instances that we have observed. Again, on the right hand side, we have an elephant who died because of a disease. Now, when we looked at the elephant had some injuries and some swelling, some wounds and some swellings where foreign objects were lodged. Now, this elephant died due to multiple organ failures, which may or may not have been caused by infection by that foreign body. Now, why I'm mentioning this, it's because when an elephant is moving around a densely populated area, people often use certain tools to ward off or repel the elephants. Now, many of these tools, they have to be like, for them to be effective, they have to be in contact with the elephant. Like for an example, if a spear is used, if an elephant comes extremely close by to repel the elephant, they have to poke the elephant. Now, sometimes these spears or some metal portions of those tools can get lodged, and they don't come out, and eventually a swelling appears. Now, in the long run, that may cause health issues in the elephants. Now, this is what a crop raiding incident looks like. Now, this is a clan of 70 to 80 elephants who come together during harvesting period of October to November, and they participate in this activity of crop raiding. Now, as I span the camera, you can see more and more elephants coming. Now, another thing that we have observed in this landscape, where elephants are moving around in a human dominated landscape is teasing of elephants. And where do we see teasing of elephants? Mostly are the tea gardens. Now, what I define teasing is confronting of an elephant just for the sake of fun. Basically, it's confronting elephant without any proper purpose. Okay. Now, if you look at this, now this video that I just showed you, I don't consider this as a teasing of elephants. It is because an elephant is moving through a human settlement, and the people that you see on both sides are actually trying to stop the elephants from coming to their direction. Because many a times what happens when such a large herd is moving through, there are some strays who often come towards the houses, and then anything can happen. So these people are shouting so that the elephant herd sticks to its path and goes ahead, and there are no strays who are coming towards their houses. So this is confronting the elephants for a definite purpose. But in a tea garden, so this is a typical episode that we see in a tea garden. You can see there's a group of elephants and a large group of people behind it, behind the elephants, who are running behind the elephants. And what do they do? So this is what the people do. So they just go behind the elephant, try to elicit some response from the elephant. And when the elephant chases, it's a thrill for them. And the elephant was actually going back to its site of refuge, after which, reaching which, it would not have bothered anyone. So this is what the teasing that we look at. Now, this is another one of the teasing episodes. And you can see this is happening again inside a tea garden. Another one. And this fellow was trying to take a video of one of the elephants using a phone. So if you see, these kinds of interactions or direct confrontations with the elephants are actually not required, and these can totally be avoidable. And many times, like as we have seen with the movement data, with the habitat use data, most of the times the elephants are seen in the tea gardens. So that means that also opens the avenue for more teasing episodes in tea gardens as well. So such activities can often have chances of a fatal encounter, where imagine if one of the kids just slipped and fell. An elephant would have just unalived them. And there was one video, I was tempted to include it in this presentation as well, which showed such an incident where after teasing, one of the individuals chased and a person was killed, but I didn't include that. So yeah. So what are some of the mitigation measures that are being used in Golaghat right now? So if we look at some of the mitigation measures, so there is an anti-depredation squad currently operational, and they also take the help of local youths who are there in the conflict affected villages. There have been awareness programs and public announcements as well. Ex gratia and compensation system is in place. There are involvement of experts for consultation in various issues related to elephants and conflicts. There have been solar fences deployed in a private level, and also there has been large scale fencing by the local forest department of Golaghat. Radio collaring of elephants have been done for the long-term monitoring and for the day-to-day tactical early warning system. Also, on an experimental basis, lemon biofences have been, they have not been used, but they have been developed. So these are some of the images of the local ADS and youth that have been engaged. Then there are these awareness programs and distribution campaigns of various equipment to tackle conflicts. And this is a hanging solar fence that has been deployed in a place called Duinoimuk in Golaghat on the banks of river Dhansari. This is a 6 kilometer long fence that has been established. And this is the planting of the lemon biofence, lemon saplings, which will be later used for the biofencing program. Now, what needs to be done? Now, despite the establishment of these, or despite the presence of these mitigation measures, conflict are still happening. So what can be done to at least minimize it going forward? So a multi-stakeholder approach for conflict mitigation or tackling conflict. Now, when I say multi-stakeholder, it is not only forest department and NGOs. Apart from that, the civil departments should also come into play. Now, when you are managing elephants in a human-dominated landscapes, you are not only managing elephants, you are managing people as well. So the local police authority also should be involved in such activities, so that the forest department can manage the elephant part of the problem, and the police authorities can manage the human part of the problem. Special emphasis should be given on tea gardens to manage conflict in the area. Now, if you look at the entire home range of the elephants in Golaghat that we have found out through radio collaring, we see that the elephants are using very less of the forests and more of the tea gardens. And this is also happening because forests are very less, and tea gardens have a much larger coverage area compared to forests. So because there are no natural habitats, the elephants are using the tea gardens as a substitute. What I'm saying is the elephants have no option available because of the less habitat, natural habitat availability. As they have no options, they are resorting to using tea gardens as a substitute for forests and catering to their various needs. So special emphasis should be given on tea gardens to at least help manage the elephant population that is there in Golaghat. Now, when I say special emphasis to be given on tea gardens, like the first step can be to manage the crowd that goes behind these elephants and not to disturb these elephants. So the elephants can just stay there, feed without disturbing the tea garden activities. And yeah, so that can at least be a starting point where the elephants are not agitated and they are just there. Preparing an elaborate network of ADS and local youths and develop mechanisms to support and sustain them. Now, there are ADS teams, there are local youths engaged, but there has to be a larger network of such teams who are very well coordinated with each other, and they can coordinate within themselves and tackle the conflict issue. Focused awareness programs that address specific aspects of the conflict. So whatever conflict, whatever awareness program that are being given, which are being disseminated in the area, are mainly being given at a village level, or at a group, or at a level which are at a group of villages, which are focused to a group of villages. Now we have to go to a much finer unit. Like, for example, we should start going to schools, because what we have seen is much of the teasing incidents or teasing episodes, it is mostly the children who are taking part in the teasing activities. So a focused awareness program addressing these children can also be implemented, so that we don't have a new generations of elephant teasers coming up. So this is just an example. Focused awareness programs can be given to different groups in a community as well. Involvement and cooperation between NGOs and government departments. So nowadays, a lot of NGOs have started to come and work in the landscape, but these NGOs are working in their own separate bubble or separate islands. So initiatives have to be taken where the NGOs work at a collective nature, and the NGOs also, there is a cooperation between NGOs and government, within NGOs and within the government departments as well. And lastly, understanding the large-scale movement patterns using collared data and using this on information for planning location-specific methods. So like I said in the beginning, we have deployed the collared GPS collars for a tactical approach, where we know where the elephant is, and through proper experience and knowledge, we can say where the elephant will be. So that is the everyday tactical application of the GPS collars. But at a long-term perspective, if we see, so if we collate 3 years of movement data, we can identify what are the areas the elephants are visiting, study those areas in terms of their suitability, identify the different types of movement, and work on certain measures to promote movements which are connective in nature and curtail movements which are destructive in nature. So when I say destructive, it is those movements that are mostly causing conflicts. So such a large-scale understanding can help in devising some strategic barrier methods, or a combination of barrier methods, etc., which can be used to minimize conflict. So thank you for this opportunity. So I've come to the end of my presentation. So I'll just stop sharing.
Thank you, Mr. Amlan, for sharing such enlightening information based on your experience. It was nice to know about the ongoing human-elephant conflicts and the mitigation measures in Golaghat. To further add into this, we have our next session, which will be a conversation between Mr. Ritu Paban Borah and Mr. Amlan Aditya Goswami on the scopes and challenges of managing elephants in human-dominated landscape. After this, we are going to have a question-answer session, as I have already mentioned at the beginning. So I'm sure the audience must have questions based on this event. So I request the audience to post their queries in the chat box, which will be addressed during the question-answer session. So now Mr. Ritu Paban Borah and Mr. Amlan Aditya Goswami are going to have a conversation on the scopes and challenges of managing elephants. So before this, I'm going to introduce Mr. Ritu Paban Borah. He is a forest officer at the rank of Deputy Conservator of Forests with over 9 years of field experience. He has worked extensively in Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve and Golaghat district of Assam. He did his master's degree from the Forest Research Institute, Deemed University, Dehradun, and postgraduate diploma in Advanced Wildlife Management from the Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun. Earlier, he served as a technical associate at the Forest Survey of India, Dehradun, and as a scientist at the Pollution Control Board, Assam. He is a wildlife enthusiast and likes to play table tennis. So, Mr. Barwa, the stage is all yours.
Thank you for your kind introduction. Yes, Amlan, I was listening to your presentation. It reminded me the days when we were together on the field at Golaghat and we successfully radio collared 3 elephants. I would also like to congratulate ANCF for focusing on the area which is not that focused. Kaziranga is always focused, and focus is very important. But the area like Golaghat, Karbi Anglong, Gwalpara, these are districts of Assam, which seriously needs our attention. So this is the first radio collar exercise done, and in future, a lot of things would be coming up. And while speaking of the action that we have taken, one rightly said, one of the biggest problem that we face is that the youths, they used to tease the elephant, and they run away. They run away because they have good legs, young chaps. However, there are some person who are observing who cannot run that fast. So there are incidences when people have died. I'd like to interrupt here, and I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible, sir. Yeah.
So there are incidences that happen on the road where the 2 person they tease the elephant, and the other person got killed. So we don't want to go harshly on people, but such kind of incident we have to stop it. So we arrested those guys, and in 2022 the number of incidents came down, and a lot of YouTubers, they come to this tree garden area to get footage. They may also pay those youths to tease the elephant so that they get a good footage. So this has to stop. So we were forced to do that, and we arrested those guys, and action has been taken as per law. And Amlan, you have rightly shown the tea gardens. One are operational, others are abandoned. The abandoned one is the Bogidula tea garden. But it's not abandoned actually. It is there are some court cases going on. Therefore, it is now locked down. But after 1 year, 2 years, the court order has come. It will be this abandoned tea garden, as we have said. These are the temporary habitat of this elephant. They take refuge in this area daytime, and at the night time they will go in the paddy field and raid the crop.
Yes.
But what happened when the tea garden becomes operational? All these elephants, some of those young elephants, they have taken birth. They've taken birth in the tea garden. So they think that this is the home. So this is a very difficult problem, very challenging problem that we have to face. Yes. And we will be requiring some expert advice in this regard.
Yes.
And since we are also talking about tea gardens, we have seen that young elephants, when they fall in the trench, of course, trench are required because if we don't want the elephant to go there, but the dimension of the trench has to be, I think, looked into.
Yes.
If it is too narrow, the baby elephant, the calf will fall down, and when the mother will try to take it out, succumbs, it dies. So the dimension has to be well enough so that the baby elephant, the calf elephant, doesn't die.
Yes.
It's not a very pleasing sight to see the calf elephant dying in such situation.
Yes, yes. So that is, yeah, I just wanted to add. So that is what I meant when I spoke about, risky environments, elephants
Yes.
walking around risky environments, because many of these drains are, like rightly you said, extremely narrow, and they are hardly a meter in width, but they are very deep,
Yes.
like 4 to 5 meter deep. So an elephant, like in a recent case, so you also must have encountered that. So there was a calf that fell back first, and when the female was trying to retrieve the calf, because of the loose soil, the elephant got buried,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it couldn't breathe, and ultimately it succumbed. So such activities, such sites are not very pleasant, and it's quite sad. And and we have seen many a times the young ones are dying a lot. Hmm. Probably one thing that we have found more in Golaghat is that a lot of calves are getting born. Hmm. Like one of the explanations for this might be the males that are there are not going far away, but are staying close to the herd that is already there. And because of the continuous mating, the period between the intercalving period is becoming shorter, and all the females currently are expecting a baby actually. And the situation is such that an adult female or a female currently is taking care of 2 or 3 young ones, which becomes extremely stressful for a female as well, because of which there are calves who are not being fed properly, who are not being guided properly. So that also might have caused an increase in the deaths of young ones as well. Yeah, so that was just something that we have
Yes.
found out regarding this thing that you have added about kids and the bystanders getting affected. Like, I've had a lot of experiences whenever I go to the tea gardens for documenting the elephants. I have seen all these kids going, chasing the elephants, and they are trying to bring the elephants close to me so that I can get a better picture of the elephants. But
They might have thought that you are a YouTuber who is going to pay them.
exactly, I try to make it as clear as possible that I'm not a YouTuber, I am a researcher, I'm just taking pictures of the elephants. And they try to bring the elephants close to me, and at the end, I am the one getting chased by the elephants. So this is something. So one thing that I've observed in these places is, one, apart from the kids who are taking part, so there are adults who have actually grown out of such behaviors. So when I'm talking to these groups of people who are there, so there is in a group of people who have come for the elephants, there is a certain section who will go and run behind the elephants, and there's a certain section who enjoy watching this chasing to and fro. So whenever I talk to these kids, I don't know why they don't like talking to me or what, but I haven't got a clear answer. But when I'm talking to these adults, what they say is, so we have grown old, we cannot run, and also there's a fear that has gone inside their minds. Either it may have been, the case may have been, they have had a very bad experience with the elephants, or they know someone who has had a bad experience with the elephants. So that might have been one of the issues. But the thing is, we should do something to address these kids, at least do something to keep them inside the schools.
True, true. We used to conduct awareness programs. Recently,
Yes.
I went to 3 schools for inspections as per government direction. We have a program called Gunotsav.
Yes.
Means we'll be going and interacting with the student and assessing the school. And the student also will also look up to the officers. It could be anyone, any officer going there, and they will also know what to do in future. So as a first officer, I used to tell them about the elephants. And I used to make them feel important. That people from outside, from Europe, when they come and see elephant, they are awestruck. And such elephant you can see in your village. So not elephants are not everywhere. So the sense of belongingness I try to give it to them. And I also try to make them understand that why elephant have to move from one place to another. I should say that your stomach is this much, but elephant's stomach is very big. So they have to continuously feed. They will need 100 kilo of fodder. And if they stay at a place, they won't get the fodder. So they have to move from other place.
Yes.
So they used to connect with us when we say these things. And if their parents are also listening when they come, they may be having some grudges. But when you talk to them, they may speak some ill at the first go. But when we interact, when we talk it out, they also understand our limitations, our intent.
Yes.
So we are in the same boat, brother. We used to tell them, and such kind of awareness programs are being conducted.
Yes. Because so I've had first-hand experience of observing, observing that shift from the shift from human conflict to the sense of having a sense of we are the same boat brothers. Because thanks to you and DFO sir, when I started working in Golaghat, I used to go around a lot with the forest staff.
Yeah,
And,
you used to go.
Yeah. So honestly, the forest staff is doing a extremely thankless job, I would say. They are working very hard, but many portions of the area, the people from those areas, the people from many pockets, they don't appreciate as such. And in such areas, such awareness programs are very highly required to make them understand about the challenges of, first of all, to manage elephants in such an area where the elephant does not have a forest to go to, and it is staying in tea gardens. That is the first level. And then there are a lot of challenges in the administrative level also, or the ground staff also has a lot of challenges, because there may not be enough equipment or enough staff to tackle frequently occurring elephant incidents. Like I have had experiences when in a beat office there were just a handful of people, and simultaneously there were elephants in two different locations far apart. So where does the forest staff go? And there's just one vehicle. So these kinds of challenges are there. So that is what I've experienced. So anything you want to add?
Rightly said. Our government, although I am expressing my personal view based on my experience, the government has made some recruitments, and the new fresh blood has come to our department. Those are those are fit and young guys, highly qualified. They have done graduation, some are post graduation, some are engineers. So those enthusiasm is there. So we are glad that we have those young chaps. And one more thing, that elephants, I think elephant has evolved a strategy to outsmart us. Earlier they will be grazing at a paddy field at a place. Now they have found some clusters. So we face some problems sometimes that which group to attend first, and there are a lot of calls to be coming. Come here, where are you? So it has become very challenging. The elephants have outsmarted us in this regard, and we have to also to evolve in this regard.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Like so if an elephant has to stay with people, it has to adapt. Yes. So like one of the examples that I have given in one of the talks before is, the elephants that are there in Golaghat. So there are some 100 odd elephants in Golaghat, of which some 70 to 80 elephants are the ones who are moving around this human dominated landscape. But then again, there are 20% of the elephant population is staying in Nambor Wildlife Sanctuary. And they are mostly the ones that stay inside the forest. And you can see the level of adaptations that they have gone through. The ones that are staying in the human dominated landscapes, they have become habituated with whatever the people are throwing towards them. Whereas
Yes.
if you that level of adaptation has not come to the elephants who are staying in the forests.
Yes.
Like I've had one of the observations, and that only happened once, where right at the fringe of Nambot Doigurung Wildlife Sanctuary, I have seen this elephant which has come from this human-dominated areas, and just a kilometer apart, there was this other group, which was the forest-dwelling group. Now, crackers were burst to both these groups. The forest-dwelling group ran inside the forest after the first cracker, but the group that stays in human-dominated landscapes was unfazed after 2 or 3 crackers also. So that is the level of adaptation that these elephants have adopted. And another adaptation that I have seen, another strategy that the elephants are applying. So whenever there is this teasing teasing episode happening in the tea gardens, we have seen there are a few elephants, 2 or 3 individuals will be there. So not all elephants are participating in this chasing activity, chasing of people. There are always these 2 or 3 individuals who will be chasing the people. And I don't know if it's a strategy by elephants or it's just something that has happened naturally, because we don't know what the elephant is thinking. But what we have seen is there are 3 or 4 individuals who are keeping the people at bay, whereas and the herd, the majority of the herd is actually feeding and doing whatever activity they are doing. The young ones are playing, but the adults are actually keeping a watchful eye, and the young juveniles or the sub adults will be the one addressing the human problem in the
Yes.
tea
Yes.
gardens. Yeah.
Yeah, they are indeed. I think walking with them, they are very wise animal. But
Yes.
I have seen. You can also see that the first day when we were trying to radio color the first elephant,
Yes.
the elephant which was present there for 1 week, we have been tracking them.
Yes.
That day when we plan to radio color, they just vanished from there.
Yes.
They were having some sense because the Kunki elephants were also brought in. They sense that we are going to do something. And I
Yes.
spoke to my then DFO that it is going to that area near Dhansari. We have to shift all the logistic to that place.
Yes.
We
Yes.
did that, and thanks to our veterinarian or everyone involved, we could successfully radio color that one.
Yes, yeah. That was quite like a very good experience of collaring elephant, where we actually managed to collar 2 individuals in a matter of
Same.
same day, and within 2 hours actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and don't forget that means the heart was protective. They came and inquisitive. They
yes.
see what we are doing with that elephant. They're radio collaring it. So we have to
Yes.
blank fire once and twice to chase the
Yes.
elephant,
Yes. Yes.
and we
Yes.
can do that. So
Yes. Absolutely.
interesting animals.
Interesting animals, and they have that sense of protecting each other
Yeah.
whenever there's a threat. Now, unfortunately, the day we collared 2 elephants, the very next day, one of the collars was torn off. That
Yes.
also gave us a very good idea about the behavior of elephants, especially the Maljuria elephants. So the Maljuria, so of the 2 elephants that we collared in May 2022, one was a female, one was a Makhna.
Yeah. From Maljuria, you may say Maljuria means the heart of
Yes.
male elephant,
Yes.
young male elephant.
Yes. Yes.
Maljuria. Yeah.
Yes.
Bachelor's elephant.
A bachelor group of elephants. So this Makhna was a member of this bachelor group, and after the collaring, it gave us some data for the first day, and the very next day, in the middle of the day, we can see the collar being there right in the front of someone's house, which was quite startling, because in the middle of the day, you don't see an elephant in someone's front yard. So I think the forest staff went and retrieved that collar, And one of the eyewitnesses from that household said that there was one elephant who actually helped this smaller makhna in taking the collar out.
Yes,
So
yes.
after that, we actually had created a protocol where we have written now, like this is something we follow, that we don't collar or do not collar elephants who are part of a Maljuria group. So this is something that we have put forward, and this was a great learning for us as well.
Yeah, we shared this thing with Dr. Sukumar sir, and he also found it very interesting.
Yes.
And thanks to him for guiding us all the way.
Yes. Sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, any other challenges that you see administratively when you when you are tackling elephants
Yeah.
in such a landscape?
That coordination with the other departments, that
Yes.
government has formed one committee. It's being the chairman is the deputy commissioner of the district.
Okay.
So we used to have meeting. So the problems like sagging of electric lines when you see something, so
Yes.
we write it to the electricity department and mark a copy to DC. Also,
Yes.
we inform our phone that now it's paddy time, so elephant will be moving. The wire is sagging. So kindly kindly intimate the electricity department and do the needful. So such kind of committee has helped. Thanks to government for constituting this committee.
Yes.
And again, the compensation and accuracy. Since when any people dies, so it's a very sad scenario, and they need money to perform the rituals, and of course the family goes suffers a lot. So that's ex gratia, what government has done, that ex gratia, that disbursing authority, the PCCF can disburse. It doesn't have to go to the government level, means our executive level, it can be given, it can be disbursed. So ex gratia, compensation, all this thing has means it takes less time now.
Okay.
So such kind of step has been taken. And we are also constantly in touch with other stakeholders, NGO also. So when the State Board of Wildlife meeting is to held, so this kind of things are being put. And of course, there is no solution in short term. The miracle won't happen, but the losses can be minimized, and gradually we can find some solution which will reduce the mortality and injury of elephant. That's what I think.
Yes. So, sir, are there any challenges related to compensation when it comes to compensating for house damages or crop damages? Like, have you encountered challenges when it comes to those aspects?
Yeah, there are people who is cultivate in some non-cadastral area. Means there is a government land. Say one river is there, Dhansiri. So it changed the course.
Yes.
So it's a government land only. So some people do cultivation over there. Mustard oil cultivation is good. But because it's an economic activity. But if the elephant will go to the river to drink water, and a lot of grasses would be there. So if such kind of area which is cultivated by the people, but they don't have the documents for that. So there the problem comes, whether to give, how much to give. So this kind of thing is there, and there has been, and also there the crop insurance policy is there, but this elephant depredation thing, that is not yet covered. I mean, nobody has thought of it. I don't know what's going on, but the crop compensation scheme, it doesn't cover. Even I have interacted with the scientists of Wildlife Institute of India. Some scientists, they used to say that can't we consider elephant as a pest for that small duration when they deplete the crop. So compensation is given when a pest attack compensation is given. So such kind of thinking has to be done
Yes.
At the top level with the
Yes.
help of other policymakers. And yeah, and you can also chip in herein.
Yes. Yes. So somewhere, sir, I think the frequency of such activities also plays a great role, because it's not that human death and injury are rare cases. Whereas if you consider incidents of elephants breaking houses and elephants raiding crops, so raiding crops during harvesting period is an everyday activity.
Yes, yes,
So, so how many households get affected, and the frequency with which they get affected, you have to disburse a lot of funds towards that. Same
yes,
applies for the house damages also. I think that also somewhere may play a role. The scale at which this happens and the frequency at which this happens, that may
true,
have been a challenge. So
true.
so one thing you said about interdepartmental cooperation and involvement, and you spoke about that at an administrative level.
Yes,
I had an experience of that concept at a ground level, and I was very happy to see such a thing. I'll just tell you what it was. So in September of 2022, I guess there was in Udayanti state, one individual was arrested and one YouTuber was also arrested. Now after that incident, so that incident became very viral, and the outcome of that incident also was very viral. A person getting arrested for teasing an elephant. So that instilled some fear in this crowd of people who partake in teasing elephants, and that worked very well for controlling such actions towards elephants. Another
yes,
thing that I saw happen was, uh, following those days, the local police authority was also going around with the forest staff.
yeah,
They were helping the forest department in driving the elephants. Now I have seen what was happening. The forest staff was going behind the elephants, driving the elephants towards the nearby refuge, and there was a police vehicle who went ahead and was stationed at those places where there was a possibility of a crowd gathering. Now, at the side of a
yes,
police vehicle, there was no crowd gathered. There was no barrier for the movement of elephant, and the elephant 7 kilometers and went to the refuge site. So that was one very good multi-stakeholder interdepartmental example of coordination that I have seen, that was brought about by this. Yeah.
yes. As you told that we also involved some local youth volunteers.
Yes.
So them we have formed one anti-depredation squad, anti-depredation. So we used to pay them from Project Elephant.
Yes.
So those people are very helpful, and since they belong to that village, so we have a friend in such a hostile situation. Sometimes it becomes when people die, not die when a person is injured, and we have to take it out from the village at night.
Yes.
So they help us, and because the person may be injured, may not have died, so it's urgency that we take the person to the hospital.
Yes.
So at the time, the local people, these people, they help us a lot, and it has worked.
Okay. That's great to hear. So any other, is that model still working, and is it still sustaining that model, that is
Yeah, it
this
is there. It
volunteer
is
model?
there.
Okay.
Yes, it is there.
Okay.
And
Great.
regarding that
Yeah.
solar fencing, you showed the picture, one picture. It's a very nice
Yes.
picture. A 6-kilometer solar fencing was done,
Yeah,
and there was a
that was your
bumper
picture.
production.
That was
Yeah.
your picture only. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gave you. But you
Yes.
can see a lot of cultivations near on the other side of the fence.
Yes.
And Nagaland, this is our adjoining state. Nagaland is Dimapur. It's not
Yes.
too far, 1 hour.
Yes.
So that's a good market for the farmers. So this helped a lot, and the production was bumper, and they also were economically benefited.
Mm-hmm. So I am like last time I saw there was the hanging fence was only 6 kilometers. So have you extended it further, or are there any plans to extend it further, the hanging wire fence?
Yes, yes. The plan was there. It is being commissioned. And one more thing is there that this hanging fencing, the maintenance is required.
Okay.
Otherwise, if the climber would be entangled to those hanging tentacles, then the earthing would be happening. So
Okay.
we requested the farmers that we have given this solar fencing from government.
Yes.
You form a group, deposit some amount for maintenance. The timely intervention would be helpful. A stitch in time saves nine. So they form a committee and they do maintain that.
Okay. And so I remember there was also an introduction of the lemon biofence.
Yes,
Something
yes.
that has been very successful in Sibsagar.
Sibsagar district, yeah.
Yes. So what is the status of that? Like, have we started implementing that at certain locations?
Yeah, in fact, not only us, sericulture department is also planting 1,000 lemon from one CSR activity near Bogidala only. If you go there, you can see. So hopefully, when the lemon tree, it means lemon tree will take some time to grow, and it has to become bushy to be a fence. If you want to have lemon, you can get it, but if you want to make it a fence, it will take some time.
Yes. And I think the people would also benefit if it also gets connected to some market, some lemon market, because the Assam lemon is in quite demand, not only in India but outside India as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I would like to also advertise here. Assam lemon is a fantastic fruit. Its aroma is so nice. Those who have not have it, please buy some lemon and try it once.
Lemon. Exactly, sir. Yes. Very true. So anything else, sir, you would like to add?
Yeah, nothing else. So I think we can work together, and if there are some gaps are there, you can identify it, and we'll find a solution. So let's work together for the survival of this majestic animal.
Yes.
Dominated landscape.
Yes,
So,
especially at such a landscape. And I think involvement of people and understanding of the people, especially the local people, will play a great role in ensuring that elephants stay with us for a long time, especially in Golaghat.
yes.
One thing I just suddenly remembered, once we were talking about this thing, this concept of, introducing elephant-friendly tea gardens in Golaghat. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on that? Because we have seen there are a lot of elephants staying mostly in tea gardens. So such an activity would be, such a initiative would be really helpful for the elephants as well as
Definitely.
people.
Yes, definitely. I think, as you told, Golaghat has a lot of tea gardens, and tea is very famous over here.
Yes.
So the tea gardens, if we can certify some tea gardens, maybe from the forest department, this tea garden is elephant friendly in terms of they are tolerant. Let the elephant be there. They are not using harmful measures like blade fencing, and they are using organic methods and not using pesticides. So if we can certify, so those will sell more, and it will also give a good goodwill, develop a good will among tea garden and the department. So that's a very good thing, I think.
Exactly. So I think in future initiatives, whatever management plan we prepare, the tea gardens and the tea garden administration will play a great role. So they have to be convinced to shift from the conventional practices to organic practice, because there's also a challenge of productivity when it comes to organic farming. But then
Yes.
again, nowadays organic products are a craze. So,
Yes.
people like to have their food items or any commodity which is guilt free. And I think organic somewhere caters to that feeling.
And you have a ready-made market in near
Yes.
Kaziranga. A lot of tourists used to
Exactly.
come there. And
Exactly.
Assam
Yes.
is one of the most visited place. I think
Yes.
Times of India revealed that it's a 50, ranks 52. A lot of
Okay.
people are visiting Assam. So if you can, and Kaziranga of course, and if
Yes.
you can showcase that this tea garden is elephant friendly and these are the product,
Yes.
organic product, it will
Yes.
sell like hotcakes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, some we can also set up this concept of responsible ecotourism in the gardens as well.
Yes,
Where
yes,
there can be certain, watchtowers can be established in strategic locations, and very limited number of people can come and observe elephants.
yes,
Because the tea gardens are one of are great sites for sighting and observing elephants. And it can also become an avenue for scientists to come and study elephant behavior also, elephant behavior in a human dominated landscape. So that can
yes,
also be developed. So yeah, I think that is something that can be planned in the future.
yes, yes.
Great. So, sir, anything else you would like to add, sir?
I think we can talk endlessly because watching elephant and talking about elephant, we can spend hours. But yes, we can also take up the question
Absolutely.
after session after that. And I would
Yes.
like to thank you for this opportunity, and we'll meet again somewhere sometime.
Yes, yes, yes. All thanks to Friends of Elephant for giving us this platform where we can speak our heart out. And
Yes,
rightly said, if we just start talking, we can talk the entire night actually about elephants.
yes,
So yeah, okay. So we'll just move on, and I'll request our introducer to get on to the next topic then. Yeah.
So the conversation was indeed lively. Thank you, Mr. Ritu and Mr. Amlan, for enlightening us. I'm sure the audience must have gathered important information from it. And I can see many questions being posted in the chat box. So now we are going to have the question answer session, and all the questions will be addressed during this. The session is to be moderated by Mrs. Seema Lokhandwala. So before beginning this session, let me introduce Mrs. Seema. Mrs. Seema Lokhandwala is an engineer turned elephant biologist with years of experience in wildlife conservation, specializing in elephant communication, behavior, and ecology. Worked on several conservation projects in the Kaziranga Karbi Anglong landscape, Assam, focusing on elephant population dynamics and movement ecology. Currently leading the Elephant Acoustics project, which is developing acoustic sensors to mitigate human-elephant negative interactions. Currently, she is pursuing a Ph.D. at the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, studying acoustic communication in Asian elephants. So, Mrs. Seema, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sadhana, for such detailed introduction. Thank you, Amlan, for the talk. I was shocked, not shocked, but kind of predictive behavior, but kind of amazed as well as how elephants are moving within the tea estates, what we had expected in some ways, but it is really good to see it on a GPS collar. So, because okay, so moving from the Q&A sessions, I have tons of questions, but let's just look at what the questions have come up. But the couple of thoughts that I had is when we talked about the elephant radio collared being, the male radio collared being assisted by another male and then broken down. So there is this interesting paper that's come up by how pro-social behavior or two rescue behaviors in radio collaring itself in Assam. And I request everybody who is interested to look at how rescue behaviors or how pro-social behaviors are very common in situations where elephants are not so much put into, like something like, let's say, when an elephant is stuck in a nala kind of a thing in the tea estates, there's a lot of pro-social behavior of when an elephant is being being sedated, and then it's in a form of with ketamine and dopamine, and then it has this form of being in seduction sense, and it been immobilized. That time itself, we see these behaviors where the other elephants are trying to push the elephant and move it across. So a lot of times working in Kaziranga, Karbi Anglong for a long time, we see a lot of these kind of behaviors. So I'm going to take on the questions that are there for the time being, and let's see. Okay, there are quite a few interesting questions. There's one that I was like, okay, so Titi has asked you, on what basis the GPS radio caller record the multiple locations on the same site? Is it based on the frequency animal visit, the site of how many animals stays on that site, or something else?
Okay, so see, it's a very simple representation that we did. It is all the collection of all the recorded locations for those 20 months. Now, whenever we see a cluster, now it may happen on the same day, it may happen on the same month. So it is like that. It is not that,
Go ahead, Amlan.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
she's asking particularly is she want to know that what that one point is that we set that point. So we set that point to 1 hour or 2 hours, like that.
Okay. So see, okay, so that one point represents one elephant, but that one elephant is again part of a herd which includes 13 to 14 individuals. So that is one. Second is, these points are programmed to give us locations every 3 hours. So there are 8 locations in each day. So we get one location every 3 hours. So that is how the information is recorded by the GPS callers. And what we have shown in the map is a collection of all those recorded locations in a 20 months time. So in 20 months, in each day, 8 recorded locations. So that is what the map shows. Yeah.
Next question by Arundeep Singha. May I know what is the preference for tea plantations by elephants? Is it for food or tea garden provide for a safe habitat for the herd of elephants?
Okay, so see, this is what we have been deliberating for a very long time. Why exactly is an elephant staying in a tea garden? Now, what we have observed is, now in the tea gardens, in the hills, right below the tea plants, there's a lot of grasses growing. Okay. Also, in the middle of the hills, there are a lot of nalas, or what we call hulas in the local language. So what happens in those hulas is a lot of the fertilizers and lot of the pesticides also can come and collect, and it is a site for luxuriant growth of grass. Also, there are a lot of reed-based vegetation that develop in these hulas. So the elephants are feeding on the grass that are underneath the tea plantations. They are feeding on the grasses, that the fresh grass that grows in these hulas, and also the reed-based vegetation. In addition to that, there are certain shade trees that are also being debarked. They are being felled, and fresh leaves from those trees are also being consumed. Also, what we have seen is, during the dry winter seasons, when there's a scarcity of water, there is water available in the tea gardens because of, again, the same nalas that collect the water. And there's a lot of irrigation activity that happens during these dry winter periods in the tea gardens. So because of all these resources, we think that the elephants are coming and staying in the tea plantations. But again, these are not to be considered as, the next best habitat for elephants, after forests. The elephants are coming here because they don't have any other option. So that is what is happening. Yeah.
So just to add on that, Arundeep, what has happened is it's a fragmented landscape. It's a landscape where it's not that there is the elephants, when they're moving within the tea estates as well, they're moving from one landscape to another. And the tea estate becomes like a safe haven for that period of time. And then slowly and gradually, they kind of learned, oh, there's so much of resources within the tea estate, then I can live within the tea estate itself. Then why would I want to go back to the forest? So it's an evolved behavior over a period of time. So when I started working in the landscape, when Golaghat was never a high conflict zone, nobody used to talk about Golaghat as a human-elephant conflict zone. And within the last 10 years, Golaghat became a hotspot of, within the last 10 years, human-elephant conflict. So earlier, we used to hear about is Udalgiri, Sonitpur, the other districts of Assam. So this is an evolved behavior. So the same with conflict. Where there is conflict, the conflict keeps rising because the elephants as well as humans behave differently. And that's a behavioral evolution that happens, and adaptation happens during that time. And that's what we are observing even in Golaghat, which is becoming now a conflict hotspot.
Yes. Also
So-
to add into that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what we consider a safe haven now, so these are the sites for most of the teasing activities. And we don't know if the elephants, so the elephants might be getting stressed because of these activities. And, like we know a prolonged exposure to such stresses or such stimulus by people, can shape certain behavior of elephants towards the people as well. There have been examples of elephants who have been extremely aggressive. At the sight of people, they would just go an extra step, not even go for a mock charge, but actually charge to harm people. So such such incidents
That's the
also
role of
have
social
been.
media. The
Yes.
negative role of social media, how that negative
Very
role plays,
true.
that's the best example of it.
Best example, yeah. And somewhere there might have been a correlation, between the rise of YouTubers and the rise in conflict. That is something that needs to be studied in Golaghat. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I would like
moving
to I would like to add one, if I may.
Yes,
Yeah,
please, sir.
yeah. In a tea garden, there is one plant called Albizia lebec. We used to call it koroi.
Yes.
So elephants are fond of eating the bark and the leaves of the koroi, and there are also grass underneath, since it is being irrigated for tea shoots. So therefore, elephant needs to come and prefer a tea garden. And Amlan rightly say that although the elephant come here, this is not the ideal habitat. They may stay there for some time, but ideally they should move back to the forest. Yeah.
So, as you've worked a lot, Mr. Ritu Paban, sir, for in this landscape, I have a question. So, why do you think that Golaghat is becoming higher in conflict compared to any other place?
Yeah.
In the sense that, yeah.
Yeah. Number one is that the encroachment. The encroachment happened long back, but the human population is increasing, and those encroachment is increasing, and people are not letting the elephant to come to those places. There is one reserve forest called North Number Reserve Forest. It is adjacent to the Nambo Dorgrim Wildlife Sanctuary. It has become a tea garden, encroach. So the elephant has lost the habitat, and they are not allowed to go there. So the conflict has escalated to that region. Number two, the adjoining place is Kaziranga Hill. There also development is taking place. Earlier, the zoom cultivations, that's called shifting cultivation. It is a part of practice, traditional practice, but the frequency has increased. And yeah, and the corridor, there is no notified corridor, but we know the elephant wish to move some certain places, through certain places. So those are need to be notified, protected. If since the development is taking at such a great pace, so if you don't protect these dense corridors, so incidences of conflict will increase in future.
Yes.
And to add the last point, this lockdown tea garden, it will be operational one day, and you will see a sudden spike of conflicts. What I predict, so such kind of proactive measures, I think we should be taking up.
Yes.
I hope I answers you to your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I would
Thank you.
like to add some more things on that. So I'll just try to give a perspective. So the forest that we see in Golaghat, the protected area network is roughly 100 square kilometers. And then there are elephants and then there are 100 elephants. So if you just consider the forest as the primary elephant habitat, the density of elephants that it can house is not very adequate. And if you add into that a degrading habitat, the elephant is bound to move out. Okay, so this is just to give a perspective of the habitat degradation, the reason for the conflict part. Yeah.
Habitat degradation, one of the major reasons.
One of the major, yes, one of the major.
So moving on, there's a comment by Chenagappa M. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name right. He works, or he has a tea estate in Kodagu, is a landscape that we worked in. ANCF did work a lot in Kodagu, and he talks about in Kodagu in Coorg, Karnataka elephants grow up in coffee estates next to the forest, and the forest personnel call them estate elephants, as they spend around almost all their whole life in estates. Never had an elephant problem till around 10 years ago in my estate. Luckily, the areas are very sparsely populated. So the coffee estate and tea estate cannot be compared. I don't feel like saying that, being worked in Coorg as well. Amlan, do you have a comment on that? Or Rituparna sir, do you have a comment? Because coffee estates is very well defined in some ways. And the habitat, the shade trees and all of that, they provide a lot more food compared to what tea estates do. And also the coffee estates in some ways are very well covered, so the elephants cannot be easily seen, and the slopes are very different on it. And yeah, they do become estate elephants. In tea gardens are somewheres in Assam, it's not on the plains. It's just on the plains. It does not have that slope. The shade trees are very sparse, so you can see an elephant in a tea estate from far away. And so these teasing incidents and all of the conflict that happens becomes a lot more. And also tea estates and coffee estates are much bigger. In Assam, tea estates are very sparsely. Like we have seen, I've worked in coffee estate in Tata. Coffee estate was huge, acres and acres of land. With tea estates, there are very small pockets of land. So that's also one thing that we have to keep in mind while working in tea estates compared to coffee estates. Amlan, your thoughts on it?
Yes, so see, that is one, like rightly you said, the configuration that we see in coffee plantations and tea estates is different. But yeah, but there are big tea plantations in Golaghat as well. I mean, one single tea plantation may not be very big, but there are a combination of various tea gardens. But then again, one thing rightly you said, there is this advantage of visibility that we have in tea gardens, which we do not see in coffee plantations. And because of this visibility, there's a lot of teasing activity happening. And because of visibility also, not a lot of people, take a bad step, when running away from elephants. They exactly know when we need to run. I don't know if teasing or anything is happening in coffee plantations. I have seen a coffee plantation. I would never go tease an elephant inside a coffee plantation. But that is, because of the visibility, of course. And also, I think somewhere there's a behavioral aspect to rise in conflict also, because certain behavior where an elephant becomes very bold to confront a person, it does not happen overnight, but it happens after repeated exposure to people. Yeah, so that may have caused that after a certain amount of years, the elephant has grown to be bold and confronting people, and the usual measures that used to work before are not working right now. So that might have been the case. Yeah.
Yes, I would like to add one more point. I'm not sure about coffee plantation management, but regarding tea garden management, it's an active management. It requires active management and requires a lot of labor component, like cutting, pruning, watering, plucking. So constantly, human being has to be there after a short interval of time. So the number of interaction is more. The probability of incidences is also more. What I think.
That's true, sir. In some ways, it's true that coffee has these beans that grow once in a cycle, and there is this cycle to pluck it out in certain blocks. So where I used to work, they say that if there is an elephant in this block, then they stop plucking coffee completely from that block, that whole area. They divide the whole estate in 10 blocks, and then they do systematically work in that. That doesn't happen with tea estates, where there is pruning, and also there's much more interactions that have to happen with the elephants. So that does happen. So yeah, and we don't have coffee estates in Assam, but we have tea. Lots of tea. So moving forward, there is this question by Praneet Yadav. Speaking about stakeholders, are there any welfare societies among the community to take safety measures? This can be a question to Mr. Ritu sir.
Yeah.
Speaking about stakeholders, do you think there are any welfare societies among the community to take safety measures? Do you think that?
Yes, welfare society, not in terms of welfare society, but they have a village defense force. We have constituted eco development committee. Eco development committees are those committee constituted by the forest department for the fringe village people residing near the wildlife sanctuary. So assistance from government, livelihood activities, these are being given through these societies, and torchlight, any torchlight crackers to burn. So such kind of things are given. And since we are also taking care of their livelihood enhancement, so somehow it helps and also develops the goodwill among the department and the public.
Amlan, do you have anything to add?
No, I think Ritu
We're
Paban
good?
sir has
Okay.
added. Yes, we are good. Yeah.
Oh, there is a comment. I'm just going to read the comment for you. There's a comment by Prerna. It's not a question. I cannot agree more with working with children and making them friends of elephants and not teasers, what we are all working towards. And she says, congratulations, Dr. Amlan. A very systematic and informative presentation.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor yet, but yeah, hopefully I'll be soon.
Doctor to be.
Yeah, to be. Yeah.
Niharika Gogoi has a question. Thank you for the illuminating talk. You have provided a very well articulated overview of HEC's situation in Golaghat and its future direction. Her question is, do you see any scope for establishing wildlife or habitat corridors with food trees for elephants, or creating a buffer zones around human-dominated landscapes, such as agriculture, fields, settlements, and tea estates, to mitigate human-elephant conflict?
So before I answer that, Ritu Paban sir, would you like to take this question?
Yes. Regarding the corridor portion, I would like to add one thing, say one thing, that what is corridor? Corridor means it's a passage. We don't want the elephant to stay there. So there are two habitats. It's connected by one corridor. So we won't be planting anything in this corridor. That is one scientific management. So that elephant will move from one place to another. They won't be staying in the corridor, because in the corridor there it will be road. Some one to houses could be there. Also corridor can be functional and structural corridor. So we don't want any fruit tree in the corridor, but yes, we want habitat improvement in the habitats, so that elephant get a lot of food over there. They stay there for longer time, and when it get finished, they can go to another habitat. That is the rule of management we do follow. And yeah, what's the other question? Creating a buffer zones. Yeah, buffer zones, as we know that in case of protected areas are like national parks, wildlife sanctuary, conservation reserves, and community reserves. Regarding national park and wildlife sanctuary, there is a concept called eco-sensitive zone. So this is not yet notified, but yes, within at the periphery, if any kind of development activity has to be taken, so it has to go through some procedure. Clearance of the department is required. So by not allowing big industry or big settlement to come up near the forest, would tend to reduce the number of conflicts. What I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So I'll just add into some more things. I think so. There is one plot that is currently being cultivated by one of the NGOs called Hati Bandhu, who again is cultivating paddy for elephants in Golaghat. Okay. Apart from that, if we are talking about buff, yes.
Is it in Golaghat or is it in Karbi Anglong? It's on the border of Karbi Anglong.
It is in Golaghat. It is in
Okay.
Golaghat. Yes, it is in Golaghat. It's a
Yes, it is.
small pot.
I'm just intervening. It is in Golaghat, and the name of the NGO is Hati Bandhu.
Yes.
And they have been planting rice earlier. But we spoke to them that rice, if you plant rice, an elephant would be eating that rice, means paddy. So we don't want elephant to eat paddy. We don't want to get the elephant condition by having paddy. So they shifted to napier grass. And it's very fortunate. We are very fortunate that Honorable Prime Minister of India in Man Ki Baat, the NGO was appreciated and recognized. It's a very good, their good work was being recognized.
Yes. And if we have to talk about, buffer, close to, or let's say buffer between forests and human habitations and tea gardens, it is quite challenging for a place like Golaghat because again, it's highly fragmented and highly degraded. Okay. And in many places, there is no scope for preparing a buffer. The only scope for preparing a buffer is if someone gives up their land for creating a buffer or the forest is taken up for creating a buffer. So it is that close. So the human settlement is that close to a forest. So yeah, so two things. One is the highly fragmented nature of the human settlements, forests, tea gardens, and also the lack of this gradient that is there between the habitat and non-habitat type of forests. Yeah.
So just to add on that, Niharika, of course, I guess that you're from Assam because of your surname Gogoi. So if you've seen the Assam landscape, because the water was such a surplant thing because of the plains of Brahmaputra, you're talking about the plains of Brahmaputra. So the land is so fertile that you expected and you observed villages, sporadic villages all across the landscape. You don't have this big village and then nothing for lands and lands that what you expect in coffee estates or other places. And that's the reason there is this fragmentation of landscape because of the fertility of the land. So small villages over the land. So that's one of the reasons that buffer zones creation will be a very big problem, that you wouldn't be able to create buffer zones.
Yes, and also, enrichment of the habitats, and not as plantations, because plantations is not a very good concept. Reforestation has to be, taken up. Obviously, it has to be very scientific, cataloging all the native trees, collecting their seeds, and, mimicking what the nature would do in creating the, native habitat. Such activities should be taken up. So if that happens, we may not require the use of certain buffers, to stop elephants. The elephant, if it gets enough resources, it might stay there. But then again, there's a question of an elephant's preference as well, which if we start discussing about it, it will be another talk. But again, because of repeated exposure to easily available food, an elephant might have developed a preference towards, certain food types that are found in the human dominated landscapes. So that is another thing that has to be, considered when such plans are made. Yeah.
So the next question is by Yamini Hazarika. Does solar fencing affect non-targeted wildlife species such as birds?
I'll answer that question. I think,
Yes.
yeah, you may add on. Since the solar fence, it's a DC, direct current, and the voltage is very less, and it's a pulsating current. So birds, etc., are not at all hampered. Yes, the Wildlife Institute of India, they made one study regarding the high tension line. Then those means mortality of birds because of high tension lines. That could be applicable to high tension lines, but regarding these solar fencing for short kilometers, like 6 kilometers and all, it don't affect. I think it don't affect non-targeted species like birds, etc.
Yeah. And also, I think they have to be connected to two wires or the ground for the current to actually pass through. So yeah. So a proper earthing should be there. So I don't think birds get affected. And a lot of the fencing that are currently coming up are temporary seasonal fences, which mostly use one wire, one wire that runs through, and the bamboo posts. So these do not pose such a threat to birds. And also, if you are concerned about, a bird hitting the wire, these wires are at a very low level. So it does not affect the birds as such.
Yeah,
So I think
and these wires are hanging, so it is not tied to something. So even
Yes.
if the bird hits to no much, the injury level would be very minimal. What I think, and these are very light, and that's to give a shock.
Yes.
And I have touched fence. It's not that strong, but it's give a shock. It surprises the elephant. Yeah.
So I think the question for Yamini would have come across. I'm just trying to clear it out. Is maybe she's thinking about the Great Indian Bustard, the Rajasthan thing, where there is a lot of bustard that because there are only 100 of population, and when they hit the high tension fence, so that's called the high tension fence, and they are not the solar fence, and maybe that's the problem with them, and their sense of flight is also at the same height where this high tension flight fences are there. And that's not fences, they're actually wires, high tension wires. So I guess that's a difference between that. But of course, there are other species, not just birds, but there are other species that I myself have seen completely a snake being completely fried on a fence like that. So there are a lot of other species that we have to think about when we put a solar fence that can get affected. And that is something always into consideration when we put fencing. Okay. Moving forward, the question is by Praneet Yadav. The initiative of collaring the elephants is a good idea, but doesn't it make the elephant uncomfortable in doing its daily routine, or are the collars will be removed after a certain time period? Go ahead, Amlan.
Yeah. So see, the thing is, how an elephant interacts with a collar again depends on, if it's a male or a female elephant. Again, different elephants have different personalities, but what we have seen is a male, he keeps on interacting with a collar, whereas a female, after a certain period of time, they don't interact with the collar as such, but they get habituated with the collar. The same can happen for a male elephant also, but there's also a thing about, in very layman terms, I explain this, that female elephant has a lot of other responsibilities. It has to take care of its calf, it has to go around the herd, take care of other young ones as well. So in the beginning it might find the collar a bit uncomfortable, but they get used to it. On the other hand, a male elephant, it has nothing to do. It just has to go around, eat, and there's a collar, it will just play around with the collar. So as a result, the more interactions it has with the collar, the more it can get damaged, and it falls off. And we have seen, in many collarings, we have seen the females retain the collar for a very long period of time, whereas in males it does not last for a very long time, probably because of this reason. And also, regarding the discomfort, the discomfort is there only for a period of time. It's like wearing a watch. How when you wear a watch for the first time, you find it uncomfortable, or it's like a foreign body attached to you, but after a period of time you get habituated to it. Yeah, so it's something like that. It also is not very heavy. It only weighs 10 to 12 kilograms, which is measly for a big elephant. So yeah, so that is again one thing. Regarding the collars getting removed, so there are different models of collar which are designed. So the model that we used in Golaghat was a GSM collar, which had which had a belt made up of natural rubber. So after certain years, due to weathering, it falls off on its own. But there are other collars which can be remotely detached. And yeah, so there are other collars as well. And yeah, I think that's all. I think I answered your question regarding that. Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. The next question is by Ayushi. I think it's mostly directed to Mr. Ritu Parna. Do you use lemon as a biofence because it creates a physical barrier, or does the elephant does not like the taste of lemon? They don't like lemons generally. It's thorny. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. Sorry. Lemons are sour, but elephant don't eat lemon. It's basically a physical barrier, so it's thorny. So they don't like to get pricked. And that is a thing. Yes, it's only because of physical barrier only.
Yeah. And also, just probably if you give elephant dal and bhat, it would start eating lemon. Yeah, I'm just kidding. So basically, an elephant does not like lemon as such, and it can be a physical barrier. Also, it has a very strong citrus smell, which may have an advantage by masking, the smell of what is there beyond the fence. And also, in Sipsagar, the fence that is being used, the lemon fence, it is not just a single layer of lemon. It is actually 3 layers of lemon that are being used. So a single layer of lemon can be very dense, but if you combine 3 layers of lemon barrier, it will be very dense. And one first thing is gave off a lot of citrus smell. So yeah, so that might be some of the advantages of using lemon. The physical aspect of it, blocking visibility and blocking the olfactory signals of what's beyond the fence.
Okay, so the last uh, comment is by Brigitte Uttar Khorense, and it's a very long comment. All she would like, she started working with the forest department and MLA. She wants to work in Golaghat, and she has printed some 40 pamphlets in Assamese language to be distributed, and she would like to get in touch with Amlan and Ritu sir. I would suggest that you just put your email IDs in the chat so that she can connect with you, and that will work out best for us. Yes. And any other comments by Mr. Ritu or Amlan? Because, yeah, we are at the end of the session. I personally don't have, if we start talking about elephants, we can talk always, like we can keep talking and talking. But just for the interest of time and looking at everything else, I don't know. Should we just call it a day?
Regarding the last comment or post, I'd like to add that Hati Bandhu, this NGO they started with planting with paddy, then they shifted to napier grass, and recently I had interacted with RFRI, Rainforest Research Institute, which is also at Jorhat. So the scientists, they have come up with they've identified one superior germplasm of patidoi. Patidoi is a plant, a herbaceous plant. Scientific name is Scumantius dichotomus. So it is used to make the mat. So this plant, it has got medicinal property. It helps in physiology of the animals. So this can be planted at certain location. We can substitute napier, of course, napier because napier is a fodder grass for animals. But this Scumantia dichotomus is a naturally available plant that grows in the forest. It prefers flashy condition, wetland condition. So there are wetlands inside and outside the protected area of Golaghat. We can plant this patidoi plant, and people will be also benefited if they harvest. If not, the elephant will eat. So I think Hati Bandhu, this any NGO can take up this patidoi plant, and we have around 200 saplings that I have cultured and kept in our nursery. So we can tie up with some NGO, and we can plant this 200 number of trees for elephant.
Thank you. Okay. There is a question that has come up, and we would like to end it with this because there is no simple answer to this question. So each one of us will have their own point, or maybe everybody in the room can have their own answer interpretation of this question. Thank you for the last question, Abhinash. And that's the best thing that you can end this talk with. And the question goes like this: what is the main reason for negative interaction between human and elephant? I would suggest let's start with Amlan and then go to Ritu sir, then me, and everybody else who's in the room can turn on the camera and think that one reason. So let's just say one reason, each one of us. Amlan, let's start.
Okay. Thank you for putting me in the corner. Because again, see, this is something that we think of, and there are hundreds of reasons that come up, which is again location specific. You go to certain places, it will be a different reason. You come to Assam, it will be a different reason. Within Assam, it will be a different, there will be many different reasons. Okay. So, in simple terms, somewhere, whenever there's a compromise between the safety, compromise in the safety of humans and elephants, there is a chance of negative interactions coming up. This is at a very primal level, very basic level, I'm telling you this. See, an elephant just going 100 meters, 200 meters away from your house, and elephant going 10 meters away from your house. These are two different things. An elephant walking 200 meters away from your house, you will just take a chair outside, sip a cup of tea, and watch the elephant go away. But an elephant walking 10 meters away from your house, you will take a stick or something, burn a fire, do whatever you can so that the elephant does not come towards you. Okay. So that is where, there's a possibility of a negative interaction happening. Also, from an elephant's perspective, again, if an elephant feels threatened, that can cause. Or if an elephant comes close to a person, in search of something, it got attracted due to some fruiting trees, or there is paddy at the courtyard or at the veranda of a house. When it comes there, that again, creates chances of interactions. So basically, when the safety, so all these incidents, whenever, compromises the safety of humans and elephants, that is when the problem can happen. Yeah. So this is my take. There are a lot of other things I can say, but this is what comes to mind right now.
So whatever Amlan just said, I just want to, everything makes complete sense, but I can just make it in 2 points. Think of an elephant and say, thinking at us push and pull factors. Call them push and pull factors. What is pushing the elephants away from the forest? And what is pulling the elephants towards the human-dominated landscapes? So there are certain attractants that he called them as certain fruits, paddy, all of them will come across that. Then from the push side, there is habitat fragmentation that is happening. There is habitat degradation that is happening. So think of it like that. That's the major reason, that whole conflict that can happen. So whatever, we can put them into these two brackets. Whenever we see an elephant, we can think about it. Dan, do you have a comment? Do you want to say something?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I think basically the negative interaction between humans and elephant is, I think mostly it's a human factor. Elephants have always been there, humans have always been there too, but we seem to encroach into the elephant areas, and I think that is one of the main problems. And then of course there is the conflict that happens. I mean, elephants are real smart, and they're inquisitive. They like to get things. If they can get paddy fields, they would rather get paddy fields than and so it's very difficult. Yeah, it's a sad thing, but unfortunately, I think it's, as the human population expands and takes over land. We had the same situation in Botswana, where elephants, people are moving closer and closer to the parks, And now you're starting to get human and elephant conflict, where before it never really existed. You didn't have a problem. But now, because of human encroachment, it's just becoming, and I think that is probably one of the main reasons. Yeah. Anyway.
Example from Botswana. Thank you for joining. Do you have anybody else has anything else to add on to it? Mr. Ritu sir, do you have anything else to add on to it?
You very rightly categorize push and pull factor. Yes, it covers all. In Golaghat particularly, it is more of push factor because of habitat degradation. Earlier, elephant has access to vast portion of the land. There are plenty of water. Rivers are there. Dhonsari, one river is there. So they want food and they want water, and their habitat is getting encroached. So number one thing I would say that habitat has been degraded to such an extent that they had to explore other alternatives, and they have to go to the river to drink water. So there's habitation in between. So these are the reasons for the negative interactions. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else has had to add? And if they would, there's the last question by Abhinash. I don't know if it's the last, but there's a question by Abhinash. What is the advanced techniques to mitigate human and wildlife conflict? Yes, Amlan.
So see, there are many advanced techniques that are coming up right now. There is, AI is also being used currently to tackle human and wildlife conflict. But then again, in a long run, a lot of the techniques, in a long run, they start to become ineffective because again, elephants start learning from them. Okay, they start learning and they evolve ways of bypassing them. Okay, so see, to say there are a lot of advanced techniques, but are there advanced techniques to actually mitigate human wildlife conflict? That is the question. And there is no such mitigation measure right now, no such medicine that cures the problem of human wildlife conflict, no one medicine, but there can be a combination of many such mitigation measures that when used strategically can tackle human and wildlife conflict. One combination can be the use of solar fences and rapid response teams. Okay, so that can be, so a combination of such can be useful. There can be a combination of trenches and fences. It all depends on what the land requires, or what works best in a certain area. Now, solar fence or trench are not very, advanced techniques. These are very basic techniques. But if used rightly, if used properly, can work very well. So I think that is how I would like to answer this question.
Mr. Ritu sir, do you have any comments on advanced techniques in human-elephant conflict mitigation?
Yeah, Amlan rightly said that advancement of technology has taken place, and we are speaking of AI also. But no matter how advanced is the technique, my men, the forest staff, frontline staff, they have to go to the field, irrespective of this day or night. They have to go. So yes, technical advancement is very much required, but I think nothing can replace my soldiers on the field, the frontline staff. Yes, technically will definitely empower them and make the task easy. So I'd like to conclude saying that humans cannot be replaced by any technology. Technology will definitely advance, help the human being.
So technology will support, but the soldiers will always be there. Yeah.
Thank you, Ritu sir, for that last bit, because that's the best crux of it, that as much as you develop in technology, the technology will only just support, or we can think about it as like a facilitator or something of that sort. Technology can never replace humans in the field. That would never happen up till the time right now. We might have robots, but right now if we are in that situation that we can't, technology can't replace humans in the field. at least in the current state where the technology is. Okay. Are we doing one more question? Yes. Amlan is looking. Amlan and Ritu sir, are you open for one more question or like?
We're totally
Okay.
good. Yeah, we can talk about elephants. Yeah.
So Avinash asked this question, whether multi-cropping pattern GPS camera trapping and drone technology. So he's talking about this whole technology that he's looking at. Yeah, there is drone technology and there is GPS camera trapping that you use. Amlan does use some GPS camera, some camera trapping, I guess so.
Yes, but that is just for capturing or documenting animals that are using corridors. Yeah. So
And drone technology is also used, Amlan, for
yes, drone
like
technology. Yeah. So it is used for so what we are using drone technology for is surveillance. Now there have been some instances where the buzzing of the drone sound was being used for driving elephants, or you can put certain sound creating or sound emanating devices on the drones as well, something that can repel elephants also. But those also, it basically changes the medium with which you are administering something. Okay, now the buzzing sound of a drone works for a certain period of time, but then again it stops working. So drones are a very good piece of technology, not to chase elephants, but to have proper surveillance of elephants. So when you're having proper surveillance, you can actually study, or you can actually monitor where the elephant is going, or where the elephant might come out of, and take certain precautionary measures. So you can monitor the movement using a drone. And if you have a thermal drone, it's very good. At night, you'll have a thermal drone. You can look at elephants. You can study their movement, and you'll know where the elephant will come out. And again, you will have your people go there and chase the elephant away. So again, it is technology supporting the ground stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So that's it for today, I guess. So any other questions, any other comments? Yes, Abhinash, we hear you. He's typing. Yes, thermal cameras have been used in Odisha Forest Department. There are a lot of forest department that use thermal cameras as well as drones. Yeah, we agree on that. But there is one thing that I would like to extend, that in drones also they have these minutes. They can only work for 20 minutes and they have the
Yes.
batteries that have to be recharged. So right, technology has not reached that stage that it can be worked flawlessly. There is a lot of bits and pieces for it. The same with AI. That AI technology will require a lot more data, and then we will be able to build systems out of it, is what we are looking at. Like even we can do camera traps, which can do identification at zones, in individual identification of elephants very easily. But the technology has not yet reached that stage. There is a lot more data that's pumped into it, and there will be a lot more iterations that will be required. Maybe 5-10 years down the line, we won't be talking this. AI would have had some better things, but at the end of the day, what Ritu sir said, I'm going to hope to that. Nothing can beat human experience in the field. Humans are going to be there. Just technology is not going to be able to do any of the replacement.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any Mother Co questions before everybody leaves? Let's say, do you have any other questions? Anything else? Any comments? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. Do you want to speak? Okay, should I just ask the question for you?
Yeah, you can. Please go ahead, Seema. Yeah. I'm just curious about that.
Okay, are there any studies on the imprint of next generations of elephants living that close in human habitation? Is that the question?
Yes. Yeah, because I think that is worldwide the absolutely unique example that we have here in Assam, that they're so close.
Yes.
So is there anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to respond first, Amlan. Yes, madam, you have rightly said. The young elephants, those elephants are born outside the forest area. Some elephants are even born in the tea garden. So, and what they do see, that at daytime we have to hide in the tea garden, and at nighttime we have to go for crop raiding. So this thing has deeply imbibed in India, deeply imprinted on them. So yes, young generations are learning these things, and it will be very difficult to make them unlearn. So I don't know how, but this next generation means when the elephant, when we will try the elephant to push to the forest area, suppose we reclaim some forest area, and we want the elephant to go to those reclaimed forest area, and a young elephant who have seen crop raiding as their fundamental right, it will be very difficult to unlearn them and send back to the forest area.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So, yes, I'll just add.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. I would just like to add one thing that, I don't know if there are any studies happening, on the, transfer of information from from one generation to the next generation. But it can be thought of this way that, the landscapes are so dynamic that within an elephant's lifetime changes are happening. Okay. So many of the things that an elephant learns, it's not just innate, but it has to be acquired also. And in that, there has to be a intergenerational transfer of knowledge that is happening, and elephants do that. So I think that is what we have to consider, and this can be a very interesting point, of study, finding out, how they are transferring it, and and especially at such a dynamic landscape, how they are keeping up with such a landscape.
Yeah, because I think there are many things to keep up with. Food requirements is one. They have a very, very limited food available in these tea plantations. And then that impact of that issue into their health, also into the whatever it comes out on the genetic issues, even on teaching the young ones medicational food when they get sick. Elephants know what's good plants for them in the wild and what's not. So all these things, and also to the strength. There is a lot to add because they don't need any strength there. They just run from one place to another. But finding the proper female for the herd for a male elephant, that takes 40 kilometers per day. And so that thing adds up to, I would call it a peak of, I don't know, limitations, what these animals are now facing. And out might come a kind of domesticated / habitated domesticated animal that we don't know what that will be. And if that then intermates with wild, in case that interaction will happen, I mean, that is just, my mind goes crazy on that things, because it's like not predictable what we are doing. And the Hatibondo question came up. I mean, they're planting rice, and I think we all agree. I made a film, many films on that issues, but one is about Hatibondo, and I think we all agree they should not get used to rice and paddy and all this, that it's not natural for them. So correctly said by Amlan, we're not planting plantations, we are planting reforestations in the best way we can do. We have to, refodder their sources, which we have taken away by sand excavation, by other things, taking the forest apart, degrading the forest. So all these things considered into that corpus, 3-ton corpus elephant. Yeah. Amlan, while I'm talking, thank you so much. Also, Ritu, sir, it was stunning to hear what we know, but to get that into a very comprehensive bubble, as we talk here in Assam. That is really wonderful. It was great to listen to you, and mind is going, and yeah, I hope we can next time when we come to Guwahati.
Yes. We'll connect.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for your words of appreciation. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you too. Yeah.
Thank you. On that note, should I hand back it to Sadhana? Or yes.
Yes, she's here.
Thank you, Sadhana, for your patience and hearing about elephants for 2 hours.
So we have come to the end of the event. Today, in the first talk, we were introduced to the landscape where elephants are often seen outside forests, creating avenues for negative interactions. And we have also seen the mitigation measures used in such landscapes. The following conversation shed more light on the issue at hand, and Mr. Ritu Paban Borah, being a forest officer with immense experience of working in the landscape, had given us an administrator's perspective to the issue as well. We had a wonderful question answer session by Seema Lokhandwala. I would like to thank the audience for engaging in an interactive Q&A session. Last but not the least, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to introduce today's event. It was indeed a delightful experience. So thank you once again. Now, Naveen, over to you.
Good to me. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, thank you, Seema, thank you, Amlan, thank you, Ritu sir. I think it was, been part of Friends of Elephants in 2017, right? And been hosting events. And I've also worked for about 10 years in the field of research. And finally, we always have this question that comes up, right? Like in the final thing, what is the way forward? And yeah, I mean, it's a food for thought for everybody, but I think the final question and the answers to it is kind of, where the answers lie. I think reforestation, yes, but I think we should stop destruction first. I mean, once we stop destructing what we have, there is some sense in, trying to reforest something. Otherwise, the pace at which we are destructing forests, natural resources, I think, it's I mean, we just have to kind of think within ourselves as to, what are the answers. I mean, the answers are clear. It's just that we don't have the, vision, or we don't want to do what is needed to be done. I mean, that's the final answer, because everything is known. We have the data. We know what needs to be done, but we are just not accepting the facts and just not doing it, right? We're just kind of pushing the can down the line, seeing what's going to happen in the future. I mean, so, but thank you, Seema. I think it was very well hosted, and Amlan, of course, always, slow and very, very thoughtful, and very clear in his talk, and yes, very. And of course, thank you, Ritu sir, for being part of it. I always tell this because it's very important for people who are in the field to interact, to be there, and of course, some questions are tough because as audience, as laymen, as people do not totally understand what is happening on the ground. But I really appreciate forest officers and people who are there, who just come and take the questions. So thank you. And the recording will be available on the YouTube channel of Friends of Elephants. So until next time, next month's events, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
listening.